Hey gang, Craig Ripley here. Welcome once again to Living Off the Slab. So today what we're going to do is continue our discussion on this new mini adventure bike that I want to build up based upon my new WR250. Specifically, we're going to talk about the handlebars, the controls, some mirrors, hand guards, everything that I've done to make this bike a little bit more to my liking as far as the cockpit area goes. So first, let's talk about the things that had to come off this bike so that I could put the new stuff on. And first, that is the old handlebars. The WR250 from Yamaha comes with these 7/8 inch steel bars on it, of course, with the support bar that is welded in. Now, I wanted to go with a little bit cleaner cockpit and also give myself a stronger bar. So what I did was I replaced this with a Chub bar from Tusk, that is from the guys at Rocky Mountain ATV. And I got that in 1.125" center section. So it's going to be lighter and stronger. I got this new Chub bar in what's called the CR high bend, which is very close to what the stock bar was. It has a little bit more of a pullback, slightly narrower by just like a 1/2 inch, I believe it is. But it was really close to what the stock bar was because I thought that was pretty comfortable for me. Of course, since I was going from 7/8 of an inch to 1.125", I needed to change out the bar clamps as well. I had two choices. Basically, I could remove these all together and put new ones in, or I could get adapters to go on the top of these. And I chose just to get new clamps. Now, I chose to go with Ride Engineering's one-piece oversized triple clamp. And what that does is it has a cross piece right in here, as you can see, and that gives it more strength and rigidity. So if the bike falls, it's less likely that you're going to twist or bend the bars. So the last thing that had to come off was these original mirrors that came with the bike. They were really hard to adjust for me, especially when I wanted to stand up on the bike, because as you can see here in a minute, I readjusted my hand controls on the bike so that I could more easily operate them when I was standing. So when you rotated them forward, like you need to do to make that adjustment, well, then it was almost impossible to adjust your mirrors so that you could see behind you or over to the side. So these had to go, and something had to be put on that was going to be able to be more adjustable, but also take the brutality of possibly falling out in the woods. So to replace those mirrors, what I did was I went with the double take adventure mirror that you can see right here. What the adventure mirror consists of is basically three pieces. You have the mirror itself, you then have a 5.5 inch ram extension arm, and then a 1 inch ram ball that mounts where your mirrors used to thread on. So the nice thing about these mirrors are that they are a lot more adjustable, right? They also are a lot more rugged than the stock mirrors. And if you need to, you can actually take these off and stow them in a tank bag or into a tail bag. And so you can go through the woods and not worry about ripping these off. Now, let me bring one thing to your attention if you have a Yamaha and you want to put these mirrors on. Right? Yamaha has decided that they wanted to have different threadings on the left and the right handlebars. Right? The left hand side is a normal right hand thread, but the right hand side is a left hand thread. So if you've got a Yamaha, you're going to need to add one additional part to your mirror, and that is the extension right here that will be threaded appropriately for your motorcycle. As I mentioned earlier, when I reassembled all of this stuff, I repositioned my hand controls here so that I pushed them so that they went downward, I don't know, probably about 15 degrees, so that they were more comfortable when I was standing up on the bike and I could operate them. The way it came from the factory, it was almost impossible to do that while you were standing on the motorcycle. So again, I changed that, again, when I put it back together. And then also I added some protection for the hand controls because let's face it, I'm going to drop this bike sooner or later, and we know that those are very delicate. right? And they'll break off quite easily. So I added some hand guards, and the ones that I went with are the Deflex Pro. Again, that's from Tusk. Got them from Rocky Mountain ATV. Now, one thing to remember if you're ordering these hand guards is you got to get the right size clamps. If you're getting a 1 1/8 inch bar, make sure you get the clamps that match that bar. As far as doing the work to make all of these changes goes, it's really not that complicated. If you're mechanically inclined at all, you just take the parts off and then basically put them back together. Again, making the adjustments that you need to so that you're comfortable on the bike. And that would be, again, handlebar controls, the angle that you put them on, and also forward and back on your handlebar. And again, that's just trial and error, what is comfortable for you. However, let me give you a couple of tips, things that made my life a little bit easier in making the switch over. And that is, one, taking the left side handle grip off. I used to work in a bike shop when I was going to college, and how we removed hand grips from BMX bikes, mountain bikes, and so forth was we use these things, right? So if you have a compressor and you have a nozzle that you can put on, you can stick that right underneath the hand grip and just push it right off by expanding it a little bit with air. Again, very easy, works quite well. Now, to get the hand grip back on, what you do is you need to have a little bit of lubrication, right? And you can use just soap and water to put it back on, that'll work. Or what I did was I got a little bit of Armor All and just put it on the inside of the grip, just a light coating, pushed it right back on. And then it takes a few days, but eventually it will dry up and it won't move anymore. Next, I want to give you a tip on what to do about your throttle side grip here, because you want the grip to not bind up. You want the throttle to still be able to move freely when you install your handguard here. And the instructions to these Deflex Pro handguards actually say that you should cut off about the last 1/8 inch of the grip and the throttle tube as well. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I don't want to do that. Right? I want to retain my entire grip here, as you see I've been able to do, and still allow the throttle to move freely. So this is what I did. So if I roll the hand grip back here, you'll notice I still have all of my throttle tube here. And what I did was, rather than just cut the end of it off, I took one of these little hole bit, right, a step hole bit, and I cored out the end of the throttle tube, right, so that it was basically the same size as the interior dimensions of the handlebar. That allowed me to put in the little bar end cinch clamp in there and have it so that it will rotate freely around that clamp. Then I went out and I got an X-Acto knife and I cut the end of the grip so that it matched the dimensions of the throttle tube. The last thing I needed to do was give myself just a little bit of space between the head of the clamp there and the grip. So what I did was I just took a little thin wrench here and I put that right in there as I tightened up the bolt. And when I took it out, then I had just a slight gap there, and that now allows, again, the throttle to move freely. And the final upgrade that I made was to add myself a couple of ram mounts, 1-inch ram balls on either side of my handlebar clamp here, and of course one is going to be for the GPS right over here, and this one that's open, that will end up being for a camera that'll be mounted so I can do these videos. Okay, so that's it for this video. There are more parts on order, so there'll be more coming soon. If you like what we're doing here, please consider supporting this channel. There are a bunch of ways that you can do that in the description of this video, including becoming a Pateron and supporting us monthly, buying t-shirts. I have a little ebook for sale, all kinds of ways that you can do that. We really appreciate whatever you decide. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.